Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues now, and make sure to stay tuned to catch me, Mike Gallagher, coming up at 9, only on AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Happy to have you back with us. And so, we got Bears-Packers tonight. Aaron Rodgers has called for a kumbaya moment up there north of the cheese curtain. And the Steelers, the Cowboys, the Patriots, all announcing that they will stand as a team and respect the anthem on Sunday. Oh, boy. Chastened by the reaction of the fans, it seems to me. We also learned that Mike Tomlin, the coach of the Steelers, who bristled at the unfair characterization of what the Steelers did at Soldier Field this past Sunday, we learned that Mike Tomlin, who I'm a big fan of as a football coach, I'm a big fan of the Steelers, but learned that he's kind of doesn't come to the table with clean hands as somebody who hosted a fundraiser for Hillary Clinton, as somebody who was a donor to Barack Obama. Taya Kyle, the wife of American sniper Chris Kyle, of course, she has a very interesting op-ed posted on FoxNews.com, open letter to the NFL, where she says, I think she offers a very commonsensical observation that is reflective of the reality, at least before the era of Colin Kaepernick and these other ersatz civil rights leaders. You were doing your part and we were doing ours, Kyle writes. We showed up cheering and groaning together as one. We talked in the concession lines and commiserated and celebrated our team together. Did it ever occur to you that you and we were already a mix of backgrounds, races, and religions? We were already living the dream you want right in front of you. Your desire to focus on division and anger has shattered what many people love most about the sport. Football was really a metaphor for our ideal world, different backgrounds, talents, political beliefs, and histories, as one big team with one big goal, to do well, to win together. You, dear NFL, have taken that. You have lost me there. So Taya Kyle won't be watching. And at places like the VFW in Lockport, here in Chicago metropolitan area, southwest suburbs, Lockport, they're not showing any of the games. Taya Kyle's not watching them. Lockport, VFW, and I suspect a lot of VFWs around the country not airing the games.
At all? Just not the national anthem? The whole thing?
The whole thing.
Wow.
And this is the response. And so you see what's happening. And, of course, this permeates down to the local level at places like Evanston Township High School. Are you kidding me?
Oh.
The girls' volleyball team.
Sick.
The girls' varsity volleyball team taking a knee collectively on the court during the national anthem.
I know. It's embarrassing.
Where to begin? Well, let's get perspective from our friend and famed Hollywood screenwriter, Andrew Klavan. Again, his book, which is an excellent read. I recommend it again. The Great Good Thing, A Secular Jew Comes to Faith in Christ. Andrew Klavan, thanks so much for joining us again. Appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. Nice to be here.
So, what's your take on all of the takes surrounding the NFL and sports and culture more generally?
Well, I think the NFL is completely in the wrong, and it's not a question of speech rights. They have the right to do it, but that doesn't mean it is right to do it, right? Those are two different things. They have the right to do it because they live in America.
Well, they have the right to do it so long as their employer allows them in the context of a private enterprise.
Yes, of course, and the employer would be within their rights to fire people who didn't do it. But all I'm saying is, there's not a debate for me about free speech.
Right.
It's a debate about the rightness, the moral rightness of the content. And the reason I think they're utterly in the wrong is because they're exercising a right that's protected by the flag for which people died. They're asking for justice that is part of the American mindset, which is represented by the flag for which people died. And they're asking us to care about them because they're our fellow Americans, which is represented by the flag for which people died. So everything they're doing is against the purpose of their protest. You know, when you disrespect the flag, you're making a statement. You're making a statement that you don't want what Martin Luther King wanted, which was for America to live up to the meaning of its creed, for it to be more American. You're basically saying America is the problem. You're saying the country itself is the problem. And that is something that has been pushed by the left for now, at least 60 years, and certainly has been pushed by the radical black portion of the left, that it's America as a slave state, that it was invented by slaveholders, Thomas Jefferson's statue should come down, all of that stuff. And I think that if you're going to say that, then Americans have the right to turn you off, and they should. The Americans should basically say, well, look, if you don't want to solve your problems within the context of the country, then the country has the right to turn its back on you. And I think that's what we should do. And I think Donald Trump was completely in the right to call them out on it. This is the other thing that bothers me, because this is the statement that's coming from the conservative side. Is they're criticizing Donald Trump for lowering himself to get involved in this conversation. Donald Trump is a culture warrior. We've been complaining on the right about the fact that the left owns the culture. Every day, every single Hollywood actor, this is the middle of the country. Every award show, every comedy show late at night, every movie attacks the same people over and over again. The only voice they have that's powerful enough to stand up to the news media and Hollywood and the Academy is Trump, And it's like, I know that Trump can be boorish, and he can be bullying, and he can, be random and all these things. But he also is a voice for people who have simply been cut out of this conversation utterly. And I think when he spoke up for this, he spoke for a lot of people.
And this morning he was on Fox and Friends, and he called in, and he had said that the reason why players in the NFL continue to kneel is because their bosses are too afraid to fire them or to suspend them. Do you think there's any truth in that?
Yes, I think there's truth in that, and I also think that the recent business model of the NFL, underlying the recent business model, is the idea that somehow if they get rid of conservative voices in the NFL, if they don't allow Rush Limbaugh to buy a team, if they don't allow people to memorialize 9/11, they find players who wanted to wear 9/11 stickers on the anniversary of the disaster. If they do that, they're going to somehow broaden their audience. They're going to bring in women. They're going to bring in liberals. They're going to, bring in the coasts and the media and make friends of all those leftists at ESPN who have been running that station into the ground. I think that is an utter mistake. I think Trump caught them. He shined a light on them, and he caught them trying to take the patriotism out of the game. And I do not think you can do that. I think our games are an expression of our patriotism, just as they have been in every country that has ever existed. Whether it's ancient Rome or ancient Greece, the games are a place where we get together to express our nationhood and our love of nation. And yeah, it's symbolic. I mean, obviously the flag is not the country, it's just a symbol, but it is a symbol. And when they disrespect it, they disrespect all of us. I disagree with the Colin Kaepernick protest for other reasons, but I don't disagree he has the right to protest.
Right.
I just think this is the wrong way to do it.
Well, right, and that's kind of Taya Kyle's point, too, in her piece. The interesting thing is, thinking about 41 years ago, for people who know a little bit about baseball, remember the name Rick Monday. Why do they remember the name Rick Monday? Because he was a Dodgers outfielder that when a dad and his son ran onto the field in left center field and tried to light the flag on fire, he ran over, ripped the American flag away from them, and safely dispatched it to the dugout as security took those two knuckleheads off the field. And Rick Monday is remembered 4 decades later for that, and will be remembered 4 decades from now for that. And so that's a unifying moment, even though these people were attempting to protest again in the wrong way and illegally by trespassing. But what has happened in the last 40 years where Rick Monday is a unifying figure and everybody gives him an attaboy and remembers him 40 years later, and now Colin Kaepernick, he's not a hero and is not a unifying figure the same way Rick Monday is, but even that some of his silliness, extolling the virtues of Castro and wearing Che Guevara T-shirts and socks with cops depicted as pigs, and he's celebrated on the premier sports network that covers all of this.
And the fact that Alejandro Villanueva, a three-time, who served 3 times overseas in the Army Rangers, had to apologize for saluting the flag. This is the triumph, or they thought it was the triumph, of this leftist idea that America is the bad guy. For most of America's history, we have thought, yeah, we have problems, things are wrong, we want to fight over them, fix them, argue with one another, but we do it within the context of America. We want live out the meaning of our creed. But the left has been selling this narrative that, no, America is the bad guy. America is the mistake. You keep hearing guys like Barack Obama saying, look, every other country in the world has this. Why not us? And the answer is because we're special. We're different. We're better. That's why we don't have the European system. That's why we broke away from every other country. But the left has sold this idea that we are the bad guy, that something is essentially wrong with America. I mean, remember Barack Obama saying, I'm going to fundamentally transform this country? You think, like, are you kidding me? The strongest, freest, wealthiest country on earth, and you want to fundamentally transform it? That's the narrative. And they thought they had won because they own the media, so they only hear themselves talking. And what Trump really exposed with this is that they haven't won. We don't believe that. Many, many people are willing to turn off their favorite game. And I, by the way, am a huge NFL football fan. We are willing to turn off our favorite game because we belong to a bigger team than the Bears or the Patriots. We belong to the team of America. And, I think that this thing, he caught them, and that's why the media hates this guy so much. It's because he catches them out selling a narrative that they think is the truth, but most of the country disagrees with. I mean, in this case, he was speaking out. Trump was speaking out for, it's got to be like 70% of the people who believe you should stand for the national anthem, and 70% of Americans don't agree on anything, but they kind of agree on this. And Trump keeps using the same trick, which I really enjoy, is he takes something that most of us believe, and he says it in this really hyper-aggressive way, so that the left reacts, and they say they just disagree with him, and now the left finds themselves on the side of people who hate the flag. And Trump keeps pulling this trick on them. They keep falling for it. It makes them look terrible, and then they call him stupid. But I think he's really a lot smarter than they are.
All right, so do you think this will ever end with people showboating and having their own political agendas during the singing of the national anthem?
Yeah, I think he's going to win this fight because I think that people are going to punish the NFL until he wins. I think they're. You said that tonight is Thursday, so they're having Thursday night football.
Bears, Packers.
Yeah, so they're going to stand up for the flag, they said.
Yeah, and Aaron Rodgers wants everybody in the stadium to lock arms and make out with one another.
I think that's kind of going to be the resolution. I do not think the NFL can afford. The NFL is playing with one of the most popular brands in the country, and they're blowing it. They're blowing it. And if you think it can't go away, they're just wrong. You can turn them off like that if they don't stop, disrespecting the flag.
Right, and because as you're suggesting, America's a more popular brand than the NFL, and that's what I think they don't realize.
And they don't realize it because they only hang out with themselves. It's like they do not talk to anybody but themselves. They think there's their opinion, and there's the rest of us haters and morons out here who are still saluting the flag like fools. Donald Trump is bringing them out of their bubble. He's bursting their bubble. And I know it's painful for them, but I think it's about time.
Andrew Klavan, Hollywood screenwriter, so he knows something about bubbles and people living in them. The author of The Great Good Thing, A Secular Jew Comes to Faith in Christ. Andrew, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. Thanks a lot.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
You're listening